All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Monday, February 10th Public Council meeting. To my far right, we have Jason Prevost, the City Clerk, Councillor David Torgman, Councillor Mike Cohen, myself, your Mayor Mitchell Brownstein. To my left, Councillor Dita Burku, Councillor Stephen Erdely, Councillor Sidney Ben Isri, Councillor Mitch Kajavsky, the City Manager Tanya Abramovich, the Associate City Manager Nadia DeFuria, and the Co-City Manager and Director of Legal Services Jonathan Schechter. Before I start the meeting, our Public Security Director and Director of Communications helped me adapt our security brief to Côte Saint-Luc, which we should do at every meeting. So I will ask you, once as I have done in the past, to look to your right and to your left and get to know the person next to you. In the case of an emergency, it would be your responsibility to make sure that that person to your right and left has also vacated the premises to the right place. In the case of any emergency, we call 911 right away and tell them three things: the address, which is 58001 Cavendish, the reason someone needs medical assistance, and finally other details like the individual's approximate age. If the person appears to be suffering a cardiac arrest, go and get the automated defibrillator, which is at the first floor lobby between the City Hall and the library. Look for the sign that says AED. In the case of an evacuation, because of a fire or another threat, I want to point to the two doors. Please turn around and look at those two doors. At the far left and far right. Use one of those to exit the room, and then use a staircase to go one floor down to the main level, and then exit the building. Do not use the elevator. If you can't use those set of doors, you can use this door. And if we leave through this door behind me, there is another emergency exit that you follow the sign that says exit sortie, and it takes you outside the building. At today's event, we have a public security officer, which is our director of public safety, Philippe Chateauvert. We also have VCOPs, unique to Côte Saint-Luc, Susie and Harvey. Thank you for being with us, so that we have a higher level of safety here in Côte Saint-Luc. Now, before I start the meeting, I do want to make mention of the passing of a former city councillor, ISADORE GOLDBERG, who served on council for 5 terms until 2001, when the city was merged with Montreal. And he was the true grassroots city councillor who was always there for constituents. He knew them all well. He would be out there not only during election campaigns going door to door, but you would find him particularly on McDonald, where he represented all those high-rises, in the lobby of his high-rise and the next-door neighbors, and meeting all the people when they would come down and come up, and learning what their concerns were and being there for them and always standing up and speaking up for them. So I was fortunate that I served with him and also maintained contact. He always wanted to stay involved in his way, particularly as a veteran from the Second World War. He never would miss a Remembrance Day commemoration, either here or in Hampstead or wherever else there was one taking place. And this past November, I saw him both at our Côte Saint-Luc event, at the Hampstead event, and we interviewed him. And we have a video where he recounts his experiences from the Second World War. But during that video, there were certain other things that ISADORE just decided to speak about, because that was ISADORE. Those were the outtakes. And we're going to take a moment to see a few of the other comments that ISADORE made that day when I interviewed him. So we could show that, and then if any other councillors who knew ISADORE well want to say a few words, that would be great. So let's show that little clip about ISADORE GOLDBERG. He was the type of guy that people would think, he was like a target, but no one could beat him. 5 times he was contested. Every time he won. He said, when I was, 60%, 70%, he always won.
came back, I was active in the city as a volunteer, and somebody says, why don't you come and join us at EMO? So I became like a one-on officer in EMO.
Sure. You had the experience.
I was there for about 2 years and things like that. And after EMO, we got to talk, and somebody says, why don't you run for office? I think Siegel retired or something happened. Anyhow, I ran for office. I had been living here. I moved into Côte Saint-Luc. I ran for office. And my first year, I was successful. Then after it was 5 years, 4-year terms. And I always made sure, and if I didn't like something, Mitchell, price-wise, I wouldn't vote for it unless I felt we're getting our money's worth. I'm not voting for it. So I said, Mrs. Habra, remember Jocelyn Habra?
Oh, yeah, she was great.
There she is over there.
She was great.
And I said, Jocelyn, put me down as I object.
Very good.
I'm a fighter. When something is right, I'll vote for something. Something is wrong, I'm against it. And that's what it is. I keep the laws. I mind my own business. I get along with people who get along. And those that I can't get along, I keep away from them, or try to keep away. I try to avoid. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Isadore Goldberg. And that was just not a few months ago. He was thankfully quite well, almost to the end, and led a full life. I know Mike was also close in many ways, and Dita served with him for a long time, so if you want to say a few words, go ahead.
Dita, do you want to go first, since you knew him, you worked with him longer than I did? Go ahead.
So when I first, hi, thank you. So when I first came on council in 1990, Isadore was there, and we were 4 new councillors, right? Mitch and Glenn and Ruth and myself. And Isadore was there, and he was, he would tell us, we know the ropes around here, and we know these are how you do things. And he was always very, very gentle, but very firm. At the same time, it's hard to, he had his position, and he was firm, but always gentlemanly and very, very respectful, and always had read his agenda. Oh my goodness, he came in and he was like combing through his agenda. We had piles and piles of paper then, and he was always very conscientious, and always represented his residents and would fight, for every little bit of territory that he was defending, whether it was on McDonald or in the new development. So Isadore was really, he was lovely to work with and lovely to be with, and he's a great soul. So we'll miss him.
Mr. Mayor, I go way back with Isadore Goldberg as well, because as you know, I covered City Council for the Suburban in the pre-Joe Goldenberg days for many years, and then the Monitor newspaper. So I was covering City Hall, sitting on the other end, and Isadore always came up with a good line, and he was a folksy kind of guy. I was at the Shiva talking to the family, and Isadore was, that there bylaw, that he had a certain way of speaking, his folksy way of speaking. So we had quite a relationship. And then prior to becoming a city councillor, I became kind of the borough and then the city PR person, because that was pre-Darrell Levine, and I did the Côte Saint-Luc Courier newspaper. So I would work with Isadore on his column a couple times a year, and we kept going. So when I became a city councillor 14 years ago, Isadore Goldberg Park was in my district, and Isadore and I had many talks about the fact that somehow they put a sign up for a park that no one could find, because you'd have to walk through apartment buildings to get it. And he kept saying, when are you going to change that sign? And I said, we're going to do it for you, Isadore. And Beatrice Newman came to me in the fall and said, I have a solution, and we do have a solution, and I told ISADORE, he was delighted, that we're going to move the sign onto Marc Chagall. We already started the work a few months ago where we're building a walkway. We got all the shrubbery away. We're going to have a beautiful entrance to Isidore Goldberg Park that everyone can use, and it's just very sad that Isidore won't be there to see it. He was looking forward to it, but I talked to his family, and we're going to have a rededication service in the early spring, hopefully once the sign is up, and it will be a beautiful tribute to him.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any comments, or it's okay? Well, yes, so we will miss Isidore, and yes, he has a wonderful family. He never got married, but he was very, very close with his brother, his sister-in-law, his other siblings, his nieces, nephew, and yeah, they were like grandchildren to him, and he was very close with the family. So I feel my condolences to the entire family. I know that they'll miss Isidore greatly, but they have very fond memories of many great family times together, and he was a part of this city council family as well. So we certainly miss him and all those who served with him and all those who he represented for so many years, mourn his loss, and he will be remembered. So now we'll go on with the next item on the agenda, which is the question period. And do I have any questions? Papers? No questions? Anybody without a paper want to ask a question? Okay. All right, so we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. Councillor Cohen?
I was on for the committee reports.
Well,
that was for the minutes. I so move, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Benizri. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? The minutes are carried. Any business arising from the minutes? Departmental reports. Councillor Cohen.
Yes, I so move the departmental reports for the month of January be approved.
Moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Benizri. Any discussion? Councillor Cohen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to report that the Equinox, the never-ending project for the Equinox, it looks like it's now going to be, completion was going to be July, and I believe for that completion to take place, but in discussions with officials from the development, they've had some delays, and it now looks like it'll be October 2020. They started to close up some of the lower floors, but they ran into some issues, and they haven't been able to finish the top two floors yet. They're behind schedule on that, so let's hope that October is true. As for the Montefiore, that too is a little bit behind schedule because they had some significant water infiltration on much of the exterior envelope. So they had to remove and replace many of the bricks in the upper floors, but the interior work is going well, and they hope to finish the project and have rental apartments available by spring. And they are calling it Le Montefiore as opposed to Manoir Montefiore, what it was known as before. I'm going to be moving in March an amendment to our animal control bylaws, dogs and cats, to follow the lead of Montreal and to make microchipping of dogs and cats mandatory. This is something that I've been advocating for many years. We just had a cat that was discovered by our cats committee and went on for a couple of weeks. We got word that the owner, where the owner might be. The owner apparently was taking this cat from the 4th floor, physically bringing it outside and just letting it run around, not even looking for it when it was lost. But the owner did come to reclaim the cat. We were able to use our bylaw to fine them and also force them to get a license. And they did on their own chip the cat, because we're going to make that a priority for the Cats Committee. If you want to adopt a cat or we find one of your cats, you have to chip it. Same thing with dog owners. So this is very, very important. Dogs and cats get lost, especially cats. And if we don't have a microchip or a license, we are not going to be able to find the owner, and you're going to lose that animal. So it's very important. And just one last note, I'm going to be, I'll probably put the word out to the community, but I am going to be reestablishing, with the blessing of council, the toponymy committee that I had many years ago. We already have a municipal naming policy that was adopted in April 2018. So what I'm looking for is to kind of develop a bank of names of people with like a background in Côte Saint-Luc who we could use for future naming opportunities when necessary. So I will be establishing a new committee, and some citizens from the public will be invited to be part of that, and we'll meet from time to time and maybe make some recommendations to council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Who would like to speak next? Councillor Erdely?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start on the finance side with a few updates. First, the tax bills and budget flyers went out in the month of January. The first installment of taxes is due on February 25th. The second installment is due on May 25th. Just a general reminder to residents who are paying online, please make sure to process your payment a day or two in advance, because sometimes it still takes a few days for it to go through the system, and we want to make sure that it's received on time by the city and that there are no late fees. The city sent out 8,026 tax bills. One of the things we did this year, as I mentioned last month, along with most of the island of Montreal, is we merged the tax bills. So for residents who own condos and also had a garage or a storage locker, in most cases we were able to merge it onto one bill as opposed to getting 2 or 3 separate bills. Also to share, every year, February around this time is when we finalize the list of outstanding taxes, and these are people who still have taxes unpaid from 2018, so from 2 years. We have 4 properties left, and the goal is to have 0 by February 20th, which is the deadline. The last 14 years and more, we have not had a tax sale, and of course we hope that this year will be the same. In terms of permits, as Councillor Cohen was mentioning, just to share, we're up to 735 dog and cat permits as of January 31st, and 142 carport or tempo permits. And as it's the end of the year, I wanted to share, to switch now to the environmental dossier, to share end-of-year stats, and I believe these are final. So this is comparing 2019 to 2018. So curbside organic waste collection, so this is from the brown bins, was up 3.86%. Organic waste that's dropped off at public works yards, generally by gardeners, was up 9.07%. Recycling up 2.79%. Bulky waste up 8.43%. And garbage down slightly, down 0.013%. So garbage down slightly, but the other ones, all organic, recycling, and bulky waste, are all up. So I'm happy to report, and we hope, of course, the trend will continue for the years to come. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Councillor Torgman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on engineering, there's a lot of projects coming up in the near future, some of which you'll hear tonight, and some that are going to come up to future council meetings, but there's a lot of work coming up on parks, roads, our buildings, upgrading some of the buildings, and some interesting traffic management solutions that will come to the public in the short order. At the library, there's a tremendous amount of activities for kids during the spring break, so please look at our website, at the library website. You'll find all kinds of interesting things for kids to keep them busy during the spring break. To note as well, the Model Airplane Expo on Sunday, March 1st, from 12 to 3:30 p.m. Model airplanes, specialized model airplane simulator, drones, and more, courtesy of the Model Aeronautics Association of Canada. And as well, on Sunday, March 8th, there'll be a magic show by the amazing Todd Ski in the auditorium in this building. So lots to do at the library. Please check it out.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Torgman. Councillor Bin... Councillor...
Conclude with snow? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor
I'll go ahead.
Kudowski.
We'll conclude with snow.
Okay.
So just a quick thank you to Côte Saint-Luc Aquatics for the swim meet, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? We had a big regional masters and 10 and under swim meet at the ACC, which was a huge success. So thanks to the entire Côte Saint-Luc Aquatics team and everyone at Parks and Rec who put in the time to make this event great. Going forward, we've got Winter Carnival coming up on Sunday, so don't miss it. Merton of the Movies opens Wednesday and closes on Sunday, so get your tickets. We've sold about half of them as of right now, but we expect to sell at every show, so go get them quick. And I don't think we've made a formal public announcement yet, but we've kind of been, talking about it here and there, that we've acquired the rights to Something Rotten for our summer musical, which is very exciting because our artistic director hit refresh on the MTI website and was the first to obtain the rights to the show in Canada. I want to say in North America, but I don't think I can officially say that, but I'll say it anyway.
No.
But we are the first.
Canada.
We're the first theater group to be putting on the show outside of Broadway in Canada. That I can officially say.
I'll clarify it. Something Rotten was nominated for a lot of awards in 2015. I saw it in New York. Excellent show, basically dealing with the subject of how do you create a show that's a musical? Because it's like Shakespeare who's talking about making a play and making the first musical, and it's hysterical. It's a really good play. It was nominated for a lot of awards, and the first time that a community theater production is getting it in Canada is us. The first time that a professional theater in Canada is getting it is us. No community theater or professional theater has ever performed Something Rotten in Canada, so this will be the premiere for Something Rotten. Anybody who's seen it in New York knows it's just an amazing show, and it's going to be something spectacular. And the first time that the Côte Saint-Luc Dramatic Society is doing something in Canada that nobody's ever done before. So it's a great show. So that's something to look forward to.
One last thing, successful puppet shows we didn't talk about. Last week we had 2 oversold out shows by Rock the Arts, a little professional puppet show theater group out of Ottawa. So we had about 300, I want to say 300 to 310 young kids and their parents come out to watch puppets in Côte Saint-Luc. So given the success of that, I hope to bring it back on an annual basis and give family-friendly theater a good run in Côte Saint-Luc.
Okay.
And that's it for me.
And once we're talking about Parks and Recreation, remember next week is the Winter Carnival.
Yes.
Winter Carnival is 11:30, starting on Sunday at Trudeau Park,
Yeah,
right?
Trudeau Park on
Trudeau
Sunday.
Park.
Yep, 11:30 a.m.
Right.
Breakfast.
And if you have little kiddies, you can first come and see me, read them a story at Storytime at the Mayor at 11 o'clock in the library on Sunday. And there was this 9-year-old kid who wants to speak to the mayor. He heard there was coffee with the mayor, and he wanted to come talk to the mayor. So he's coming to talk to me tomorrow at 6, and we're going to do a hot chocolate with the mayor for him and his friends and anybody else who wants to come on Wednesday, February the 12th at 4:30. So, yeah, that should be fun. I like the adults, but I think I'm going to like the kids even better. All right, who's next?
Me.
Councillor Benisri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to mention, the two snowstorms that we had, this last couple of days. I just would like to take this opportunity to thank all the team from Public Works who are all dedicated and work very hard, to clean our street, and they continue to do it. So I think I just want to recognize them and to recognize all their effort. And also, j'aimerais aussi remercier, vraiment merci à toute l'équipe et à sa directrice, Bébé Nouman. Merci.
Thank you. And Councillor Erdler, anybody else need to speak? Councillor Berg.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as Mike mentioned before, there's lots of new construction going up in Côte Saint-Luc. I just want to give a recap because a lot of these residents, these new residents are going to require transit, so that's going to give me my lead-in. So that you have the Cour Park Haven high-rise, that's dozens of units. You have the Equinox high-rise on Marc Chagall. You have the La Majestic Abraham de Sola multifamily construction, that's also 10 stories or more, I believe. You have the Montefiore, Cavendish and Mackle, and Residence Caldwell. You're looking at hundreds of new residents that are going to be coming into Côte Saint-Luc, and they're all going to need transit, and that leads me into my next subject, which is that Côte Saint-Luc and Saint Laurent commissioned a study to see how we can improve the planning and then also the transportation system around the new developments at the Hippodrome and the Carbon Lion Royal Mount projects and the whole Namur de la Savane district. So the McGill students came up with a report which is excellent and which really gives us a vision of transit-oriented design and how we can improve transportation and also planning in and around that area. And at the same time, they are going to present this at the consultation hearings of the Office de la Consultation Publique, which is holding consultation hearings on the Hippodrome project. And it all affects us because we're all clearly impacted by the traffic that's on DeCarry and by the fact that we're hemmed in without the Cavendish extension. So we are also presenting a brief on Monday, February 17th at around 8 o'clock at Ruby Foos. And our brief is called Transit First, Connecting the Sectors in Namur de la Savane. I urge residents to come and attend the hearings. It's going to be at Ruby Foos, Monday, February 17th, starts at 7, and I think we're scheduled to speak at around
8:45.
8. Well, I'll ask people to come for 8. I don't want them to come so late. And as you know, there's billions of dollars of private investment that are pouring into this relatively concentrated area around DeCarry and Namur and de la Savane. And we feel that it's an opportunity now to decongest and to allow people to get there without having to rely on their cars. We need more transit. We need electric transit. We need buses. We need trains. We need a lot of major investment in this area, and that's what we're going to be pushing for on Monday, February 17th at the Hippodrome consultations.
Right.
Thank you.
And to continue off on that, first of all, I want to thank Councillor Burku for working very hard on this file, as well as our city manager, Tanya Abramovich, put a lot of hours into it, and it's been exciting, kept me very involved as well. So we are presenting this brief on the 17th. The McGill students are presenting a brief based on what they came up with on Friday the 14th. In lead up to all that, you know, Councillor Burke and I have met with the ARTM, with the city manager as well. We went to a lunch last week. We went with the minister, Chantal Rouleau. We've met with Eric Caldwell from Montreal. I've had Sue Montgomery in my office. I've had Philip Waugh in my office. We've all talked. And the common consensus, particularly from the 4 mayors, is they all agree. They agree that we have to work together on transit. So we're going to be moving forward in a unified way to try to make this historic moment, which is a time when developers are out there, particularly around the Jean Talon de Carry area and that whole sector, and take advantage of the fact that those developers want their projects to succeed and they'll contribute, and that provincial money should be come forward in order to partner with developers and with the cities to make sure that we have proper transit first, because everybody wants their projects to succeed. And that's why our brief focuses mostly on all the different transit options. And there are many. I mean, Côte Saint-Luc's been asking for station for years. So if we had a Carry Square development, we would want a train station there. It's right on the line. There's passageways. There's the idea of the tram on the Cavendish extension, that the City of Montreal wants the Cavendish extension to be very friendly to public transit, whether it's bicycles, pedestrians, and modes of transport such as buses or electric trams. So there's a lot of great ideas in these reports, both in ours and in the McGill students, and it appears that all the mayors, whether it's Sue Montgomery, Philip Waugh, myself, Alan D'Souza, we're all on the same page. Let's get transit into this area, and then everything else will follow, and it will follow well, hopefully well. I mean, we're not talking about the projects, we're just talking about the transit. So that's, I think, really good news. I think we're on the right path, and hopefully the provincial government and the City of Montreal will work with us because they're the ones that are going to help us lead this matter of transit forward. More to come, much more than that brief little summary in the next week between all the briefs that we're presenting. But that's a little sort of teaser. Okay, anything else? Great. Okay, so now after the departmental reports, moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and we will move on to the next item, which is the Eleanor London Public Library, item number 5A, Councillor Torchman.
Just going to go to the page. Que le Conseil autorise par les présentes la Ville à présenter une demande d'aide financière au ministère de Culture et des Communications dans le cadre du programme Aide au projet pour les projets de développement des collections des bibliothèques publiques autonomes pour l'année budgétaire 2020 et 2021. Que Janine West, directrice de la bibliothèque, et ou, en son absence, Lisa Milner, gestionnaire administrative des services de soutien de la bibliothèque, soit et est par la présente autorisée à signer tous les documents ayant trait de cette demande, en particulier l'entente qui doit être signée avec le ministère de la Culture et des Communications. Que la municipalité s'engage à autofinancer le montant total des dépenses prévues pour l'acquisition des documents en 2020, incluant la part correspondant à les subventions qui sera allouée par le ministère. Que la présente résolution soit approuvée pour l'action immédiate.
Proposé par le conseiller Torgman et appuyé par le conseiller, c'était qui? Kajavski. Est-ce qu'il y a de discussion?
Just to explain in English, it's a grant application that the city does to the Ministry of Culture and Leisure, I believe, and we get about $60,000 split out over 3 years to buy periodicals, books, and audiovisual equipment. So it's a grant we get from the government, and we have to go through this resolution to apply for these grants.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Item 5B, Councillor Torgman, 5B. And this is just a notice of motion and tabling, so nobody seconds it.
Sorry, just getting to it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That I table the draft bylaw 2552 to be entitled Bylaw Creating the Fee Schedule for the Eleanor Côte Saint-Luc Public Library for April 2020 to August 2020 period.
And provides a notice of motion. So a notice of motion and a tabling. It's fine, Maître Schechter? Yes. Thank you, thank you. And a table. Notice of motion and
I did.
tabling.
And I table.
Excellent, thank you. Now we'll move to item number 6, 6A. 6A is Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Bylaw 2550, entitled Bylaw 2550, concerning the purchase and installation of baseball field fences at Pierre Elliott Trudeau Park, situated at 6975 Mackle Road, and the application of the sum of $74,000 taken from the available balance of Bylaw 2480 in view of financing an expense of $74,000 be and is hereby adopted.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Kajavski. Any discussion?
So just to explain briefly, this is for renovations to baseball fields, Trudeau 2 and Trudeau 3, that will take place most likely this summer, to change the fences and update the fences. And as the case, when we can do this, we try to use the money or take the money from available bylaws rather than financing, a new bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move to item 5B. Councillor Kajavski, right? Is this, 6, I should say. Councillor Kajavski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Bylaw 2551, entitled Bylaw 2551 concerning the purchase and installation of sound baffling for the indoor pool at the Aquatic Centre situated at 5794 Parkhaven Avenue, and the application of the sum of $128,000 taken from the available balance of Bylaw 2480 in view of financing expense of $128,000 be and is hereby adopted.
Moved by Councillor Kajavski, seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion?
Yes.
Similarly to the previous bylaw, this is a balance taken from an old bylaw for the purchase of sound baffling or sound dampening equipment to be installed on the ceiling of the indoor pool to make it easier to hear in there.
Thank you.
And to be installed likely during the shutdown in September.
Excellent. Councillor Torgman?
I just want to be clear, I'm voting in favor of this resolution, but I just feel it's my obligation to say it's part of the deficiencies of design of the ACC, and I needed to voice that, but I believe this is something that's necessary going forward.
So in terms of the court case, or any claims against the contractors of the ACC, is this issue one of them?
We definitely have our rights reserved to claim whatever damages we find, and if in the context of that litigation, further evidence is adduced according to what was just stated, then it could be added to the existing claim.
Okay, well, take that.
It's
take that-
definitely within the theme of what we're claiming.
Take note of the concern, Maitre Schechter, thank you. Financial Services 6C, moved and seconded, I should say. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move to 6C. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby authorizes the membership renewal with the Union des Municipalités du Québec, including the fee for Carrefour du Capital Humain for the period covering January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020, in the amount of $28,557.18, plus applicable taxes. That Treasurer's Certificate number 20-0035, dated January 23rd, 2020, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Cohen, I think. Any discussion? Councillor Erdely.
So just to mention briefly, the UMQ is an organization that we have been a member of for many, many years. It's a group that allows us, let's say, certain benefits such as group purchases or group tenders, and by having access to Carrefour du Capital Humain, it allows us access to resources in terms of expertise in many fields, and it's a relatively small fee of $28,000 and change, especially when we compare it to what we pay to the MMC or the CMM, which is approximately $500,000, which is not as good a deal. Thank you.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 6D. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of January 1st, 2020 to January 31st, 2020, for a total amount of $5,527,888.93 in Canadian funds. When that Treasurer's Certificate number 20-0043, dated February 4th, 2020, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Westminster, I should say. Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion, Councillor Erdely?
So just to mention, this is slightly more than our average disbursement. So I guess a few of the key reasons, one of which is a disbursement for the arena project, which is approaching the end and should be done shortly. The other are expenses for snow removal and salt as well, which we had over the last month. Thank you.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
I just need to know the seconder.
The seconder is Councillor Cohen. So carried unanimously. We move to item 7A, Councillor Burku. That is Human Resources, appointment of Secretary Administrative Services, 7A.
Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc Council approves the appointment of Lorraine Gray as a temporary Secretary Administrative Services White Collar Auxiliary position effective January 6, 2020. The Treasurer's Certificate number 20-0041 dated January 30th, 2020 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. 7B, Councillor Kajewski. Parks and Recreation Auxiliaries.
Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of the white-collar auxiliary employees whose names are listed on the document entitled Auxiliary Employees, White Collars Hiring, dated January 30th, 2020, and that said employees' terms of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement. That Treasurer Certificate number 20-0040, dated January 30th, 2020, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Torgman. Any discussion?
Just briefly, is the hiring of 3 part-time lifeguards for the ACC pool.
Excellent. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to 7C. 7C, Councillor Kajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the contract renewals for Damien Amaral, Marco Polo Okai, Laurence Carrier, Nikita Ciobanu, Javier Cuevas, and Devin Cruiser as Côte Saint-Luc Aquatics swim team coaches. Each of the aforementioned contracts are fixed-term management contracts, and details are stipulated on the attached list entitled Renewal of Coach Contracts, Management Fixed-Term Contracts. That Treasurer Certificate number 20-0036, dated January 27th, 2020, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Torgman. Any discussion?
It's pretty self-explanatory. It's the contract renewals for the 6 Côte Saint-Luc Aquatics team coaches.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item D. Councillor Kajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the appointment of Marianne Sullivan as a Teen Lounge Animator for a fixed-term management contract effective from September 23rd, 2019 to September 12th, 2020. That Treasurer Certificate number 20-0037, dated January 24th, 2020, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Torgman. Any discussion on the Teen Lounge Animator?
Again, I think self-explanatory.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to the next one, which is E. Councillor Torgman. Public. Councillor Torgman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the status change of Claude Leblanc's employment as public security agent from auxiliary white collar to permanent white collar, effective January 20 in the year of 2020.
Excellent. Moved by Councillor Torgman, seconded by Councillor Cohen. And he was an Employee of the Month recently, so I'm very happy to have him as a permanent. Any other discussion? Moved and seconded. All in favor? And no one opposed. So carried unanimously. And we move to item number F. Councillor Bin Isri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the appointment of Serge Lebel to the superior function of Master Electrician, Class 22, effective October 26, 2017, that Treasurer's Certificate number 20-0038, dated January 27, 2020, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the 2020 portion of the new salary.
Thank you, Councillor Bin Isri, seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion? All in favor?
No.
Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Right. Okay. And now we move on to the next one, which is item G. Councillor Bin Isri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approve the appointment of Steve Gennett, Antranik Keshishian, and Louis Nadeau to the superior function of Motorized Equipment Operator A, effective December 23rd, 2019. The Treasurer Certificate number 20-0039, dated January 24, 2020, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Bin Isri, seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And we move to item 8, Legal Services. Item 8A, Councillor Erdely. And this is the moment we're all wearing this for. So you can talk about it, Principal, Head of School.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll read the whereases for this one because I think it's important to give more background. Whereas the Journées de la persévérance scolaire campaign, bringing together several partners, will be held from February 17th to 21st, 2020, which is a timely point in the year to collectively mobilize towards the goal of perseverance in school. Whereas perseverance in school and academic success are part of the concerns of the Côte Saint-Luc City Council, and that education is essential for the Montreal collectivity. Whereas municipalities have the competence and the power to directly influence the quality of life of young people and students, and at the same time enable them to develop their full potential. Whereas elected officials wish to collaborate with community efforts to raise awareness regarding educational success, for example, through the Montreal-wide committee entitled Réussite éducative, les élus s'engagent. Be it resolved that Council proclaims the week of February 17 to 21st, 2020 as being the Journée de la persévérance scolaire week, and that Council supports this campaign and invites elected officials to participate.
Moved by Councillor Erdely and Head of School of Solomon Schechter, and seconded by Councillor Mike Cohen, Communications Director of the English Montreal School Board.
For a few more months.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if I may share, so this is an important week. It comes at roughly the midpoint in the school year, and it's a time for all of us to reflect, of course, on the importance of education, of the educational organizations within the city of Côte Saint-Luc and the island of Montreal and the greater Montreal area, and of course the importance of education in people's lives. One of the goals of this campaign is to encourage children and more, I would say more geared towards teenagers who are possibly reflecting on their future and possibly thinking about dropping out of school. And the hope is through this campaign, and of course not just Côte Saint-Luc, but involving other levels of government, other cities and provincial government, to encourage young people to stay in school, to encourage them to fulfill their potential, to work hard, and hopefully to be successful in the future, and one day possibly settle in Côte Saint-Luc and have families here. And we hope that by wearing these ribbons and by encouraging others to do the same and reminding young people the importance of education, it'll help not just for them, but for future generations to come. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. So moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Cohen. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to item number 8B. Councillor Cohen. Authorization to renew the current boundaries of the electoral districts.
You're right. Sorry, let me just get it on my, I was so blown away by Steve Erdely's presentation about the,
Schools. Keep the kids in school.
That's right. Yeah, while I'm getting my paper, I'll just let you know that Laurent Duvernay-Tardif from McGill, who's the doctor, he will be the doctor who played for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champs, is going to be one of the honorary chairs of Stay in School Week, and I'll be attending a launch for it next Monday at the downtown, where he'll be the guest speaker, and he'll be visiting a lot of schools. So he's a terrific role model, obviously. Regarding this resolution, I so move that the municipality requests from the Commission to confirm that it duly fulfills the requisite conditions to proceed with the identical division of its electoral boundaries for the 8 electoral districts that the municipality currently has.
So that is moved by Councillor Cohen and seconded by Councillor Torgman, I believe. That's okay. This is the districts in Côte Saint-Luc, the electoral districts in Côte Saint-Luc. Any discussion? Move, yeah, discussion? No? Move, all in favor?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Anyone opposed? So it's carried unanimously, which means the electoral districts remain the same, or they will be as long as they're approved. And now we move on to item 8C through H, and Maitre Schechter will table these items.
Exactly. I will now be giving you a series of results subsequent to a municipal register, which is commonplace after loan bylaws are adopted and residents have the opportunity to sign if they wanted to manifest their opposition. So I hereby report that after the registration proceedings called for and held at 5801 Cavendish Boulevard from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on January 28th, 2020, January 29th, 2020, January 30th, 2020, and January 31st, 2020, concerning the following bylaws. Bylaw 2542, authorizing a loan of $1,796,000 for the purchase and installation of various traffic lights and LED streetlights at various locations in the territory of the City of Côte Saint-Luc, including professional services. Bylaw 2543, authorizing a loan of $315,000 for small park upgrades and playground equipment. Bylaw 2544, authorizing a loan of $750,000 for the replacement of the roof at the Samuel Moscovich Arena, situated at 6985 Mackle Road. Bylaw 2545, authorizing a loan of $263,000 for professional services for renovations to the Public Works Yard, situated at 7001 Mackle Road. Bylaw 2546, authorizing a loan of $372,000 for the purchase of vehicles and equipment. And finally, Bylaw 2547, authorizing a loan of $909,000 for the purchase of heavy vehicles and heavy vehicle equipment. The number of persons qualified to vote for each of these bylaws was 22,561. The number of signatures of persons qualified to vote requiring to making the holding of a referendum obligatory is 2,267. The number of persons qualified to vote who registered for each loan bylaw was 0. Therefore, each of the loan bylaws I've just described have all been deemed approved by the persons qualified to vote.
Thank you, Maitre Schechter. That was very clear. And now we'll move on to item number 9, which is Parks and Recreation. 9A, Councillor Kajawski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby exercises the 2020 option year under tendered contract C-22-18-22 in respect of the maintenance services for the city's outdoor and indoor pools, previously awarded to Piscine PLPS Inc. for a total price of $39,024 plus applicable taxes. The Treasurer's Certificate number 20-0027, dated January 31st, 2020, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajawski, seconded by Councillor Torjman. Any discussion?
Well, this is for the contract to maintain the indoor and outdoor pools and everything thereunder. And it should be
Okay.
noted, we're saving a lot of operational money with the new pool in materials and chemicals.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And 9B is Councillor Kajawski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Bylaw 2540, entitled Bylaw 2540, creating the fee schedule for Parks and Recreation programs for the spring and summer of 2020 be and is hereby adopted.
Moved by Councillor Kajawski, seconded by Councillor Torjman. Any discussion?
Fee schedule for Parks and Recreation for the spring and summer seasons.
There you go. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and we move on to Public Works. Public Works, Councillor Benizri, 10A.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc, par la présente, octroie un contrat pour l'achat de 3 polices interceptors utilitaires neufs, année 2019, au seul soumissionnaire conforme PE Boisvert Auto Limité, à la suite de l'appel d'offres C-31-19 pour la somme de $194 931 plus les taxes applicables. Que la dépense décrite ci-dessus sera financée par le règlement d'emprunt 2526 approuvé précédemment par le ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation. Que le certificat du trésorier numéro TC-200042 a été émis le 3 février 2020 par le trésorier de la ville, attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri et appuyé par le conseiller Kajawski? C'est correct? OK. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
Non.
Expliquer, OK. So,
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, you go first.
No, I didn't have anything to add.
go ahead. Councillor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I'm in favor of new vehicles for the city, for public security and for EMS, one of my goals over the last few years, and we've managed to make small gains on this, was to try to purchase more vehicles that are environmentally friendly. We did this a few years ago. We purchased some partial zero-emission vehicles at the time. We purchased one electric vehicle for Public Works. Actually, we've purchased 2 or 3 now for Public Works. In this case, my hope was that we would be able to find a suitable electric vehicle that could be a good option for EMS and public security. The Public Works and Public Safety Department were not able to find one. My hope would be for us to wait a little bit longer or try to find another option, and for that reason, I'll be voting against this motion. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Kajowski.
It should be noted further to what Councillor Erdely just stated, that there has been thought and work put into electrifying our fleet going forward. So yes, they didn't find a vehicle now, but we do have a plan going forward to purchase electric vehicles down the road. Eventually, hopefully having a fleet that's 100% electric.
Any
Thank
other
you.
discussion? So here we have 3 vehicles that are replacing existing vehicles. One is replacing an ambulance for EMS, and 2 are replacing cars for public security. And then the VCOPs will be getting one of the cars that are presently still in operation of these older vehicles that are being replaced. So all good for our public safety and for our medical emergency organization. And of course, we always look at the possibility of getting electric vehicles when feasible and when cost allows, and as time goes on and there are more electric vehicles and the price is more competitive, I'm sure we'll be able to get more, as was already stated by Councillor Kajowski. So moved by Councillor Benizri and seconded by Councillor Kajowski. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So that passes with Councillor Erdely dissenting, and now we move to item number 10B. Councillor Goldberg would be proud. He always said, that's exactly what he just said in his video, in a different way. But 10B, Councillor Benizri.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc, par la présente, octroie un contrat pour le remplacement de 4 compresseurs et d'autres réparations du système de climatisation du gymnase à l'ingénierie Carmichael Limité pour la somme de 31 231 $, plus les taxes applicables. Que le certificat du trésorier numéro 20-0045 a été émis le 4 février 2020 par le trésorier de la ville attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
Proposé pour le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Kajowski. OK. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
Non.
This one is the air conditioning system.
Pas vraiment, c'est juste pour remplacer 4 compresseurs pour le système de climatisation
Right, and
au
they're
gymnase.
16 years old and they're not functioning, so their lifespan, it broke within the expected lifespan. So moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and now we move on to the next item, which is C, Councillor Burku. 10C, awarding of a contract for removal of buckthorn and restoration of vegetation in Ashkelon Forest.
Decided to change the paper for this meeting.
Yeah, you need to tab it when you're in
Oh,
paper.
okay.
It's hard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas City Côte Saint-Luc wishes to award a contract for the replacement of, no, those are the compressors, sorry.
Oh, just after.
Here it is, I got it.
Yeah,
This one.
okay, I got this one. Whereas City Côte Saint-Luc wishes to award a contract to Comité écologique du Grand Montréal for the removal of buckthorn and the restoration of vegetation in Ashkelon Forest, whereas since Comité écologique du Grand Montréal is registered as a nonprofit agency pursuant to Article 573(3) of the Cities and Towns Act, this contract is exempt from the tendering process. Therefore, be it resolved that City Côte Saint-Luc hereby awards a contract for the removal of buckthorn and the restoration of vegetation in Ashkelon Forest for the 2020 year to Comité écologique du Grand Montréal for an amount not to exceed $75,824.47 plus applicable taxes, and that the Treasurer's Certificate number 2020-0044 has been issued on February 4th, 2020, to attest to the availability of funds to cover the above-described expenses, that the city's general council hereby is authorized to sign the above-mentioned contract on behalf of the city.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion?
Yes, so as we have all witnessed, we had some very severe diseased trees that we had to remove in Ashkelon Gardens. Most of them, I think, was diseased with emerald ash borer. And then the vegetation on the ground is also covered in this weed that's called buckthorn that has to be removed. It's very invasive, and it sucks all the energy out of the ground and out of the vegetation that would normally grow there. So we have to give this contract in order to remove the buckthorn, and then we're going to replant and renaturalize.
Thank you. So moved and seconded. All in favor? Oh, well, more comments, Councillor. Go ahead.
Brief comment. Of course, Ashkelon Gardens is in my district, right next to City Hall, and I want to compliment Public Works on the excellent job they've done. This has been going on for the last couple of years. We've had a few information meetings with residents of the townhouses nearby and some of the condos, just so they're aware of what we've been doing, why we've had to do it, and they understand that we really had no choice. But I know there are plans to beautify the area once this is all done, but we'll have to be a little bit more patient. But I want to thank the staff for the great work they've done.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Move to item number 11, Urban Development, Engineering, Councillor Torgman, 11A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the council hereby exercises the 3-year option years of the tender contract C11-17-22 for the management of the city water and sewer system previously awarded to CMO Management, and this for the years 2020, 2021, and 2022. That the prices before taxes of each option year are as follows. Basic services in 2020 will be $735,030. The fee for services will be $1,323,386. In 2021, the basic service will be $746,056, and the fees for service, again, which is an estimate, will be $1,334,979. In 2022, the basic service will be $757,247, and the fees for service will be $1,341,857. $1,341,857, just to be clear. That as soon as practicable, is that right? At the beginning of each contract year, the city treasurer shall issue a treasurer certificate attesting to the availability of funds to cover the contemplated expenses for that contract year.
Moved by Councillor Torgman, seconded by Councillor Burku.
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion?
This is for the management of our water network in the city, and it's just an extension of the contracts that were tendered.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And we move to item number 12, 12.1A. Now we're moving into urban development. The screen, pictures, movie time.
Yeah, you need to lower the screen.
Screen's down. It's already happening.
Oh, okay. So first item on the agenda, 611 Smart. It's the approval of the proposed elevation. Just going to read the resolution. You can see the existing house and the proposed elevation on the screen. Just a moment. What happened here? No. Trying to go with it.
to do it on paper.
I know. I have my computer, it's fine. Be it resolved that the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program received November 14th, 2019, showing elevations for the construction of a second story for a semi-detached single-family dwelling on Lot 1290582 at 611 Smart, and prepared by Mr. M. Finkelstein, architect, for the Planning Advisory Committee of November 25th, 2019, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14, Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion?
We felt that it was a very appropriate extension. It's not easy to do an extension on these bungalows, so this was well done, and we recommended to approve it.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and now item number B is deferred. Item number C, Council, want to present it, and then we'll...
Yeah, so item number C is, just a second, I'm getting to it, is the 5621 Redwood, okay? Que le plan d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale reçu le 15 novembre 2019 montrant modification de la vente d'une élévation à une habitation unifamiliale isolée sur le lot 156 1895 au 5621 Redwood pour la réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme du 25 novembre 2019 soit approuvé conformément aux dispositions du chapitre 14 du règlement 2217 de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Burku and seconded by Councillor Binizri. Any discussion on Redwood?
So this is the approval of a modification to the front elevation of an existing single-family detached dwelling. It's just some minor modifications to the facade and the doorway and the staircase as well.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to number D, Cavendish.
Okay. So this is for the address 6,000 to 6010 Cavendish, which also fronts on Freud. Be it resolved that the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program received December 5th, 2019, showing the addition of a third 8-story multifamily dwelling on lot 156-1213 at 6,000 to 6010 Cavendish, and prepared by Mr. B. Wiseman, architect, for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of December 10th, 2019, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor, this is yours, Councillor Cohen.
Okay. So this project has been in the works now for many, many years. The first proposal we got was in 2013, then we got many other proposals in 2018, and 2019 as well, went down to 86 units, all 2-bedroom, except for 2 apartments of 1 bedroom on the penthouse. And then, no, sorry, not 86, now it's 95 units. So as per the PAC meeting of December 10th, 2019, I'm just going to describe to you exactly what this entails. There's a total of 95 apartments, 92 2-bedroom units, 3 1-bedroom units, 2 on the penthouse level, and 1 on the ground floor level. There's minor exemption requests, which we're going to come to in a moment. It's an 8-story building plus penthouse with a drop-off area on Freud. All underground parking, in and out access on Cavendish as requested. So all the traffic is going to and from Cavendish. It's not going through Freud, the parking for the building. The new visitors parking area is now on Louis Pasteur instead of being on Freud. So it was, as I said, a project that came back to PAC over and over and over again because it's basically an integrated project. There's already 2 buildings on the site, and it was a challenge to find orientation of the building that would be, let's say, in harmony with the neighbors and with the neighboring townhouse units. So we met with the neighbors on numerous occasions. We had meetings with them, and those meetings were actually very fruitful because we convinced the developer to change the orientation. Originally was an L-shape orientation. Now it's a straight one side, front building, fronting on Freud. It doesn't have an L shape. It doesn't have the extension in the back, and it frees up a lot of the shade that was going to be projected onto the townhouse units. That's going not to happen anymore, and we feel that it's, it's much more attractive than originally proposed, and so finally it's come to council, and I think we've found a fairly good compromise for this site. It's very difficult because the site is zoned for multi-story, multi-dwelling units, and it can't be broken up. It couldn't have been it wasn't allowed because the zoning that applies there is the zoning that applies to Cavendish, even though it's a very deep lot and it goes all the way back to Freud. So that was the issue that we had. It's fairly large for Freud, but it's really part of the Cavendish project, part of the Cavendish complex. Place des Vosges, exactly. So that's it. We've reoriented the building, as you can see, and it's going to be.
Yeah. And we met with the residents several times to show them the various options, and the developer as well, to have them make modifications, and they were pleased. For the most part, the residents in the townhouses were pleased with the changes because of the distance from their homes, the change in terms of the sunlight that they will be receiving based on this configuration, as opposed to the L shape that was prior. So overall, it's satisfying the neighbors in a much better way than the last proposal, and the placement of the balconies also are not overlooking the townhouse backyard, so they were pleased with that. Balconies are only in the front and the back, and as well, the existing Place des Vosges building right now had a brick wall between the two complexes facing Freud, and this building will sort of cover it and create something a little more visually appealing than the brick wall. So those were the things that the residents felt were improvements. Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention that, as Councillor Burku stated, this goes back to 2013. It was July 8th, 2013, when it was originally presented. At that time, I voted against the project. Now, that being said, as Councillor Burku mentioned, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of updates, and after much reflection, I've decided to vote in favor of this. I do think it's tremendous improvement over the original one that, again, that I voted against in July of 2013, and for that reason, I will be voting in favor.
Thank you. Any other discussion? So moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and now we move on to item number E, Councillor Burku.
Thank
Emerson.
you. So now we're on Emerson. Be it resolved that Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program received November 15, 2019, showing modifications to the front elevation to an existing single-family detached dwelling on Lot 156-1830 at 6868 Emerson for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of November 25, 2019, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Bin-Isri. Any discussion?
Similar to the previous one, this is the modification to the facade of the property. It's changing the entranceway, and basically we're just approving the modifications to the front facade.
Okay. So moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? So that's carried unanimously, and we move to minor exemptions. 12.2A, Councillor Burku.
Yeah, so the minor exemption for 611 Smart, then in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G 18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 611 Smart, lot 1290582, be and is hereby approved. The whole is more amply delineated hereunder. The request is in order to allow for an existing semi-detached single-family dwelling, the construction of a second-story addition without having to provide a minimum of one interior parking space when the dwelling floor area is less than 1,800 square feet.
So that's moved by Councillor Burku and seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion? That's the minor exemption.
Right.
The other item?
Right. So this minor exemption, originally the owner did want to attach a garage, but it was felt by the PAC, by the Planning Advisory Committee, and the committee as a whole did agree with this, that it was going to be much too close to the neighboring garage. So we gave them, the owner, some options, and he decided that just going to drop the garage. That's fine.
Moved and seconded. All in
More,
favor?
more green space.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Item B is deferred like above, the same address.
Right.
And the next council meeting,
Yeah.
March the 16th.
You don't need to, as long as you put up the sign, I don't see why you need to republish.
Okay, C, Councillor Burke.
Because if you had to republish, you probably wouldn't make the March 16th meeting. Just put up the sign.
March 16th.
Right. Okay, where are we?
5885 Marc Chagall, item C.
Okay. So this is the equinox, I presume? Here we go.
Sorry.
That in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 5885 Marc Chagall, lot 1290582, being is hereby approved. The whole is more amply delineated hereunder. The request is in order to allow for each multifamily dwelling, phases 1 and 2, the construction at grade level of 2 patios built of interlocking stones to be located in the front yard of the buildings instead of being located only at the rear of the main building. The whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw 2217, Article 4-4-5C. So this is really a very simple, seconded by Mike?
Seconded by
Oh, okay.
Mike.
So this is the equinox, and basically, it's a very simple request. There are some units that are facing Marc Chagall, for which the building owners feel that they would like to add some patio, pavé uni, so that the residents can have an open patio, and it's a derogation to our zoning bylaw because we only allow patios in the back of the building, but this is sufficiently set back from the street, and it's not going to cause any inconvenience or any prejudice to neighbors, so we felt that it was appropriate, and it's going to be nicely done with vegetation. I think it's going to be fine.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move to item number 13. Councillor Torgman stands on issues for the agglomeration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No, there's a minor exemption
there's one
for
more?
6,000 Cavendish. Yeah.
6,000 Cavendish. Sorry, Councillor Torgman.
Okay, so be it resolved, that in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 6,000 to 6,010 Cavendish, lot 1561213, being is hereby approved, the whole is more amply delineated hereunder. The request is in order to allow for a proposed 8-story multifamily dwelling to have 1, a front setback of 15 feet facing Freud Avenue instead of the minimum required setback of 25 feet, and the area of the penthouse floor level to cover 70.5% of the 70.5% of the area of the top story instead of the maximum required coverage of 60%. The whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw 2217 Annex C and Articles 4-9-C. This request for minor exemption differs from the one previously published for the immovable on August 21st, 2019. And that's it, I think. Just a second. Yeah, thank you.
Seconded
So
by
I think that
Councillor
last
Cohen.
comment, I don't even know if it should be part of the resolution. In any event, I'll let the city clerk decide.
I think that in this particular case, derogation is literally derogating from the original one. I think that's where the precision came in.
Okay.
Seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion? Councillor Burko?
No, it's just to render conforming the configuration of the
Setback
building.
and the space
Right.
on the top, on the penthouse.
Penthouse floor.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and now we move into the agglomeration stance. Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That council takes the following stance in view of any agglomeration council meetings to be held in March 2020 as follows: to authorize the mayor or his duly authorized replacement to make any decisions he deems necessary and in the best interest of the city of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the item on the agenda of the agglomeration council meetings to be held in March 2020 based on the information to be presented during those meetings.
Moved by Councillor Torchman, seconded by Councillor Benizri. It's the standard motion, so I can speak and vote at the Aglo. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and now we move on to other business, item 14A, Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby authorizes the Director of Urban Development, Mr. Charles Senecal, to sign any letter, if necessary, for Hebrew Academy High School to obtain a grant to install a shade structure within one of the City of Côte Saint-Luc's parks.
Moved by Councillor Torchman, seconded by Councillor Benizri. That is to allow them to hopefully get a grant in order to get a shade structure for one of the parks. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Let them get that grant. Second question period. That was A, the grant. Well, that's an old agenda. It's been removed till March. We're doing that in March. Okay, so anything else? Second question period? Go ahead. How do we put that on?
Yeah, turn the microphone on. Just press the red, so you see the green button on.
Do I do it? Yeah, I think you do. I don't know. I don't know if it works on this. Does she push the button or I push it? Has to be not red. Okay, it's off. Go. Great.
Leslie Perez. Ooh.
It's on.
I have a question regarding 6010 Cavendish. This is too loud. My question is, when is this development starting? Do we have a date?
Do we know?
I can't tell you exactly, but I know that they are going to start, doing their testing and excavating, but not before the spring for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to start.
And what is the city going to do to ensure safety?
Oh, we had lots of discussions about that. So there is a traffic plan that engineering has devised with the developer with regard to the trucks, coming. Well, first of all, they're going to have to do a lot of digging, and they're going to have to take out a lot of soil and excavating all the way down to the garage level. So engineering has sat down with the developer and has made a sort of a route that the trucks are going to take and where the workers are going to park and the working hours. All of that's been,
The route primarily is off of Cavendish
Right.
onto that little road and then back out rather than going on to Freud, not
Right.
to use Freud as little as possible.
Okay. Is any construction allowed on Saturday or the weekend
Our bylaw does not allow construction on Saturday.
of any kind?
No,
Okay,
no,
great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm very sure, because
yeah?
a resident wanted to put up a roof recently, and he was stopped by public security.
Because I had the experience where I had construction in front of my house.
I'm not sure that it should be prohibited always, but at the present time, that's
I'm not 100% sure of the bylaw for weekends, and is it Saturday, Sunday? Do you know offhand?
I know, because a resident was putting on a roof on his new house on Saturday.
They cannot do any construction anymore on
Yeah.
Saturdays or Sundays. They cannot.
No.
Outdoor construction.
Right.
Indoors you can, but not outdoors.
Okay.
No, that.
Right, no, even the
pro-
Equinox can't build on the weekends.
pro-
The Equinox law came into effect. If you don't mind, for the Equinox, we worked very hard to change the bylaw, and they were started off, the bylaw allowed them to do construction on Saturdays and Sundays, and I know the 6700 The Avenue did it as well a little bit, but we tightened the bylaw, and there's no outdoor construction allowed now on Saturdays and Sundays. You can do indoor work, but not outdoor work, so that's good for all the other developments. And Equinox 2 has not been allowed to do it on weekends. If they've made several requests, in fact, to me, if we would, exterior work, they've made several requests to me to ask if we could perhaps let them do a few weekends, and my answer was, not under my authority, no. And so it's going to take them a little bit longer, but the residents were clear, they did not want to work on the weekends.
Okay, another question, come ahead.
Not a question. My name is Elad Benelli. I'm the owner of 611 Smart. I just wanted to thank you all for your time. Chris Chasson as well from Development and the PAC Committee makes a huge difference for my family who can afford a smaller home. 2 teachers' salaries is not the biggest thing. Côte Saint-Luc is getting more and more expensive. And the other option that we had was to move outside of Côte Saint-Luc. I was born in Côte Saint-Luc. I actually have a Côte Saint-Luc birth certificate. So interestingly enough, I would love to continue raising my family that way. And this has given us the opportunity to take one of the smaller bungalows which are affordable at the moment.
Right.
And really expand on it and be able to develop my family and continue living in Côte Saint-Luc. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So if there's no further questions, call for adjournment. Councillor Cohen? Seconded by Councillor Torjman. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.